things to take from the Karl Anthony Towns comment he made today about the Knicks offense, right? And I want to address that. It kind of gives me a little bit of credence on my opinion about Karl Anthony Towns as a whole for his entire career. And it's a very complicated one because, again, when it comes to me, I'm not the type of person that, like, I'm not the fan of that person who, because I like, I'm not all of there's gray areas to everything, put it that way. And with Karl Anthony Towns, right, I've always known him to be a very overrated player, but I've also known him to be a very talented player. And it's something in it, and you know, I've called him soft because with his size and ability, he's able to do a lot more. But yet, what he able, and I think that's what it is, right? So what he is able to do, he's able to, you know, explode. So last night was another one of them, you know, Karl Anthony Towns Taylor to have nights, right? Where he had no aggression in that first half, and you know, he played much better in the second half, and you know, Knicks needed both of them, and it's like, as he makes the comment about, and again, I'm not here to kill him. I'm not, like, that's one thing I don't do. My opinion is my opinion. I've always felt this way about Karl Anthony Towns. There's no really flex spin to it. He's a guy that can explode. He can explode, and then he can just completely fade out. Now, last night, he didn't necessarily fade out the game. Again, he caught a couple of dumb fouls. His first foul came in like the 6:17 mark. Brown used that as a time to take him and OG out the game. OG with the toe injury situation, that is going to, you know, you could clearly see it was bothering him last night, but he's going to have to learn how to play through it. I think I had a toenail, I had a toenail break off like half of it, and as the toenail is going back, it's a very awkward situation. But I didn't play NBA basketball, and I know it's difficult. You know, I had a fingernail also, and I was trying to play with that. I had a fingernail pop off, so I had like half a toenail. So I don't think I had exactly what OG's going through. But anyway. You could see at that point it was time to get both of them out of the game. You know, because again, I think that's a smart thing. If Karl Anthony Towns picks up his first foul before the 6-minute mark of the first quarter, take him out. Do not let him get the second one. You want this guy down the stretch in case he is, because again, Karl Anthony Towns is a very talented player. I didn't want to necessarily make the deal, but I was open to doing it because you understand that the talent, the spacing he provides, allows the Knicks to play a different type of style of offense. Now, a lot of people will say that style of offense is finesse, and it's So for all the Julius Randle haters, and I warned you guys in the Knicks group, in the Knicks fan base, for all you guys that hated Randle had the innate ability of drawing the double teams and playing bully ball where defenses collapse on him more. Karl Anthony Towns stretches defenses. So for the two Kentucky guys, it's almost like they play similar styles, and they do similar things, but they do it in a complete opposite way. They both are pretty good passes, underrated passes. They both are pretty decent playmakers. But Randle is going to, again, he's going to command you. He's a little bit harder to guard on the low block. while he's capable from the outside. While again, Carnegie Towns, it can heat up hot quicker in the outside, and so they both can do. But I think one is an inside out type of guy, the other one is an outside in. If you understand what I'm saying. So when I'm looking at when I'm thinking about last night's game, I'm thinking about what Julius Randle would have added to the table against the Pistons. Like, he comes in with a more physical style. He comes in with a more punishing physical body. You know what I'm saying? And Carnegie Towns, while he's not exactly a lightweight, he's not exactly a powerhouse either. See, again, there's gray areas to everything. And so, like, what the Knicks have become is more of a finesse team. Now, here's the other problem. They don't have a really good two-man game, which I thought, and again, I give 35% of that blame to Brunson and 65% of it to Karl Anthony Towns, right? Because, and this is the thing, Karl Anthony Towns, while being a great outside shooter, which again, he's not shooting that well this year. He has not really had any one of them explosive three-point games. He is a great outside shooter. That's, especially for his position. He really doesn't have a mid-range. He really doesn't have a easy-flowing, free-flowing type of game. And this is one of the things that I wanted kind of people to hear me out, because again, everybody really thinks that I'm that type of guy that makes easy, simple-minded, definitive statements. It's one or the other, right? No way was I implying that Carnegie Towns was better than Tim Duncan, but I was implying that he has Tim. At the end of the day, he does have Tim Duncan level output. You just can't deny it with the facts. Thing is, it's done differently. It's done through explosions, where Carnegie Towns can explode and go off on a 10-0 run or hit a bunch of threes and shit like that, right? And that's the difference in these players overall, where Duncan is slow and steady, and Carnegie Towns can disappear out games, and then he can explode. And that's really kind of the difference, right? Obviously, they're not the same type of players, but Duncan really didn't have no weaknesses in his offensive game, and he played in a different era where the big man was required to go more to the block. And I think that was the kind of the thing too, right? I always felt like Jahlil Okafor should have been the first pick in that draft, but I didn't at the time realize that the league was going the way it went, right? It was going to more of a three-point shooting game type of game, which is where Karl Anthony Towns excels at. And Jahlil Okafor pretty much had no three-point game. And because he had no three-point game, he pretty much was overlooked, taken third, with Joel Embiid drafted. Joel Embiid drafted before him to the same team, pretty much was rendered obsolete. And Karl Anthony Towns was able to thrive and flourish in this type of game, right? But then therein lies the problems of that transition of style, and transition of what is expected of big players, right? Big players are not expected to have to be stop and pop 3-point shooters. They're all expected to be They're all expected to be 3-point shooters. They're all expected to be able to stretch the floor. And if you don't, the league kind of writes you off. Whereas guys like Jahlil Okafor, the traditional back to the basket, pounded in, pause type player, is kind of rendered obsolete. And that's kind of the huge difference in players and play style that has, kind of been taken away. That one. And again, that's the thing. It's like, that's the struggle in dealing with the Karl Anthony Towns, where, again, he is a great player. There's no doubt about it. But then you have to kind of deal with, you gotta have to work him in. You gotta run plays for him. He's not a guy that's going to get plays in the second, in the flow of the game. And for Ant-Man to speak up for him, I get you like him personally, but that was kind of the deal playing with him. And I guess, yes, it is on Brunson to be more of a point guard, and that's the next thing, right? When you go back and you look at the 90s and how everything was an outside-in game, inside-out game, now it's an outside-in game where the point guard is controlling everything. And that's why I say, and my one criticism of Brunson is he's not a real point guard in a traditional sense, because, he's really best at playing off the ball, and he's not really the creator of a point. So he can create through his scoring, and you can, with guys like Karl Anthony Towns kind of get lost in the sauce, because you're not gonna and it's funny because Karl Anthony Towns really enhances Brunson's game more than vice versa. I don't think, remember, Brunson had to deal with this. He did have to deal with playoff runs without Julius Randle, but he had Julius Randle his first 2 seasons with the Knicks. The last 2 seasons, he's had Karl Anthony Towns. And so each one was very critical to his game. I don't think Brunson is the player that he winds up being without one of the other two, right? And that's kind of really the thing you got to go on. Like, it's a fair and legitimate criticism of both guys. And again, it's on Mike Brown to kind of work this little situation out. Ooh, yuck. It's on Mike Brown to work this situation out. And it's on them to work it out, and then it's on the Knicks just to kind of get that chemistry. So last night's game, I'm not really tripping about. Again, you see what Karl Anthony Towns can do, get all his points in one half, right? And again, I said this from last year. I don't think many people heard me, but I was like, the goal should be to get this guy 4 points every quarter. It should be get him 4, however you get it, whether it be a shot and 2 free throws, and 1, because it's funny, he had an and 1-3 that kind of almost brought the Knicks back into the fold, and it's just Detroit just methodically ran their offense, spread us out. They're quicker and bigger than us at this point, right? Pause. They're quicker, they're bigger, and that was kind of how it was kind of worked out. That's kind of how the game kind of worked out, and they won, right? So right now they do have the Knicks number. I'm not gonna deny that they have the Knicks number. I still don't think they're built better for the playoffs, but again, all of that remains to be seen. All that remains to be seen. So again, I'm my brand is I don't go too high, I don't go too low. You're not gonna get me. People thought they got me crashing out on Cino last night. Bruh, y'all asking me questions. Y'all don't allow me to talk. Like, I mean, especially when I'm dealing with, some of the lower IQ individuals that comment on that platform. And I know who they are. You know who they are. Troy. And it's like, bro, I was glad that I stayed on my platform and spoke basketball last night, because that's what I'm going to get into more. A lot of people, they just don't understand this game, and they talk about it. I understand the changes of the game. The changes of the game is one of the issues, or one of the reasons why Karl Anthony Towns is struggling with the Knicks right now, or struggles in general. And again, it's not like this is this is it. No, the issues can be worked out. It just has to be worked out. It's really that simple. They just really have to kind of figure it out. And again, because it's a simple sport. Basketball is a very simple sport. It's not that complex. It really isn't. So once that's done, hey, the Knicks can make the run that I expect them to make. But at the end of the day, yeah, the Knicks got a lot of things that the Knicks had. I seen last night. I like Sohan. I just like his energy. You know, I like his energy. I know he'll be able to play a little. You know, I know like he's Rodman, but he does more offensively. He can do more offensively. Now he's not Rodman, but you know, he's Rodman inspired. He's one of them guys that's the dirty work, lunch pail type of guy. You know, you can stick him on again. K did hit him on the one crossover, but he did make you. If you watch most of the plays, he made life a little bit harder than K, even more than OG with the bad toe. Again, Pistons got a lot of good role players. I'm still skeptical as whether those role players are going to translate to the playoffs as well as they look right now. So until that happens, you won't see me crown them. Again, I was the first. I want people to understand I was the first one to say, "Hey, Detroit is coming." I'm the guy that thinks that, you know, maybe because of the injuries and things like that, but I really have Portland as another version or the West Coast version of the Pistons right now. So I have a lot of respect for the Pistons and what they do. Portland defensively is not bringing it. I guess that's the difference. Maybe it's the difference between Tiago Splitter and Chauncey Billups being there at the helm. But yeah, I mean, I don't go too heavy. I just don't. People got to realize I'm just a certain type. I'm very even keel, and I'm very analytical the way I think of the game. So, you know, no real definitive panic. I will never panic. I think the Knicks will be fine. I think we got to win some games. We got to get to the right. I mean, I guess maybe if that's the case, maybe we do want to avoid if anybody's convinced that they have our number, maybe we should avoid the Pistons. But I'm to the conference finals and see if that team is really built for a long playoff run. But I'm really not worried. I'm just not. I'm not being overconfident. I was overconfident against the Pacers, and the Pacers were able to do a lot of things with their firepower. They would do a lot of things on the way they scout the Knicks, and the Knicks are well scouted right now. But again, if the Knicks are gonna sit there and go miss wide open three after wide open three, right? And yeah, Detroit's gonna beat us. And if they're gonna make all their threes, they're gonna walk in and step into all of their threes. Well, yeah, they're gonna beat us. It's just that simple. I think they made more threes. They beat us to 50-50 balls. They out-hustled us. They out-muscled us. The name of the game. Name of the game. It was a very simple game, guys. So, with that being said, like I said, real confident that we'll turn it around. Real confident that we'll beat everybody in the East. Got to start showing it. I mean, look, we've shown that we can beat Cleveland. We've shown them we can beat Boston this year. And again, I know, right? Me being a hypocrite. But the thing is, we have beaten these rosters our roster, the majority of our roster has beaten that rosters in the playoffs recently, including all three teams that are a threat. The 1 seed, the 2 seed, and the 3 seed. Right now, the Knicks are the 4th seed. Well, the Knicks have recent victories, dating back to 2023 against the majority of these same rosters. So, we have shown, and guess what? If Philly is in the 5th or 6th, we beaten Philly too. The Knicks have beaten these teams. The only team that we have not beaten is Indiana, and they're the worst team in the conference. So, I know it's like, don't go talk about what you did in the playoffs last year. That was last year. We're different. Okay? Well, prove that you can do differently in the playoffs, because none of these teams, other than Boston, has done anything in the playoffs. Therein lies the riddle. Do something in the playoffs, then come back to us. Until then, it is what it is. So until then, like I said, King Rowe, this is what King Rowe, if y'all gonna ask me about my Knicks, they gotta show it in the playoffs. We don't, we have. See, I think that's what it is. It's like the Knicks playoff resume is the only one that does not get taken into account. And that's cool. If that's where it's going to be, that's the way it's going to be. What can I do? What can I do? But, like I said, I'm out here, and go Knicks. Let's beat the Rockets.